Okay. All right. Welcome to Beach City Bocce's podcast, episode number one. On the podcast today, we have Michael Scialdone Sharkey of Eccobocce and Alex Gara from American Bocce Company. Um, just to kind of start everything, Michael, I know that you have a lot of irons in the fire right now in regards to the broadcasting and the ranking system. Why don't we start um, with the broadcasting and kind of run us through of how it started, where it is right now, and what you guys can offer other bocce clubs throughout the United States.
Sure. So it's called the Bocce Broadcast Network. It kind of formed a little bit. I wouldn't call it an accident, but I downloaded some streaming software. Originally, I had the idea. I just wanted to stream some of our games from our local tournaments and stuff. And so I was going to do it with phones, but I set it up one day with phones, different parts of the court and stuff. And I don't remember if I was using what's that app called? Switcher, Alex?
Yeah, Switcher Studio.
Yeah, I don't remember if I was using Switcher or what I was using, but I set it up with phones one day with the Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi wasn't good enough in the club, so it wasn't going to work. So I went home and I ordered. I did a bunch of research online for these like remote control cameras that I wanted to use, but there's not a lot of information out there, and the information that there is very confusing. So I called a company in the city, in New York City, and they kind of walked me through how basic. It's called PTZ cameras, pan tilt zoom. How basic setup works. They're used a lot for security, and for the only streaming stuff you really find with it is church, whatever you call it, church, not sermons, but yeah, church services. There you go. So it was all super confusing, but they kind of walked me through it, and yeah, I ended up ordering a bunch of equipment, and I started streaming games from our Wednesday night league, um, and then I was going to a tournament at the Waterside Club in in Phoenix, New York, which I imagine we'll talk more about that place later.
Okay.
But yeah, I threw everything in the car, and because I was like, why not? This is kind of how all of our tournament streams have gone so far. I just brought the equipment with me, thinking, maybe I'll stream, maybe not. And at first, they were kind of hesitant, understandably, because I had never done a live stream before. Everything else before was recorded, and I don't think they had seen any of our recorded broadcasts from before, so they were like, yeah, I don't know, but I talked to Gabe Quattrochi and Dino Franceschi. They're the guys that run that club, and I talked them into it eventually after I asked them a few times, and they said, all right, go ahead. And I set it up, and we went live, and it went surprisingly well. And then since then, I've been bringing it to. I set it up at a tournament that we had in our club. I've done. I brought it to Vegas. I did Vegas. We did. We did one at the Tocolana Club in Rome, which is where they host the World Series, and it's kind of it started to grow organically on its own. I really, like I said when I started it, I just wanted to stream games to stream our games and maybe record some tournament stuff when we went to playing tournaments. But the right people have seen the broadcasts, and they've now started to come to me to ask me to broadcast their events.
Okay.
And as time has gone on with each broadcast, I've improved it one thing at a time. We've added things like the instant replay, the slow motion replay,
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, different graphics and stuff. And we have a lot. Alex actually connected me with this guy, Digital Dave. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Digital Dave of Bocce Labs.
No,
He's got a blog called Bocce Labs.
Okay.
If you go to boccelabs.com, he does a lot of, he's a software programmer, right, Alex? He's software.
Yeah, in computer vision.
He does software programming. So I don't know what his actual title is, but yeah, computer vision, like you said. And he has all these, he has written these programs so he can have computers observe the games through cameras basically and keep track of stats and stuff like that. So that's another thing, the kind of like the next evolution of the broadcast is to include stuff like that. And yeah, little by little trying to improve it and make it more professional and more engaging. And
so let me just kind of interrupt you just for 1 second.
yeah, go ahead, because I'll go on forever.
That's okay, because a lot of people were really interested when they saw your setup in Las Vegas, and I know a lot of people weren't able to just come by and speak to you guys about it. I was lucky because I came over to your table when the table was pretty much empty, and I actually spoke with your mom, and so she so she gave me a lot of information of what was going on. But I know there'll be a lot of questions in regards to how do you get you guys to come to certain tournaments, such as the West Coast?
Oh, I would love to. We actually, so part of the idea with the BBN, the network part, is to have broadcasts from around the country in bring them all together in a centralized place to grow an audience together. And so with that, the idea is to have different divisions of the BBN. Excuse me, I just ate a gyro. So part of that, Alex and Digital Dave Hoffman, they have been setting up the BBN Midwest. They did a tournament, the ABC women's tournament earlier this month from Chicago. And then do you know Will Kessler?
Yes, I don't know him personally, but I know him.
Yeah, so he's a player from like the Stockton area.
I think he's with Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he recently bought a bunch of equipment for the purpose of setting up the West Division of the BBN.
Great.
So we might need a Southern California and Northern California division though. Eventually.
Like I said, all I got is time. I would love to help out, and right now I'm doing the Facebook Live with a lot of our tournaments, but it's such a, I mean, it's a phone on a tripod. I've got some wireless mics, and you don't got what you guys have got going. I mean, you've got one. Yeah, it's a start, and that's kind of like where we are at the start. So if you want us to help, I have absolutely no problem with helping out. I mean, you just got to point me in the right direction.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. So as far as like traveling, I would love to travel to tournaments. Yeah, I'm not looking to like charge anybody really now. If people can help, when I have to travel, of course, it costs. I have to take time off work and it costs me money. So if people can help me with travel expenses,
right?
Then I like going to nationals and stuff, whatever. Then that allows me to go and broadcast, and I'm happy to do it just to help Well, it helps me too. It helps me grow the audience. Every event that I do helps me. So for me, I see it as kind of an investment in the future, and I'm not really looking to make money off of. I don't think the money really is in charging the clubs and the tournament organizers to do it. I think if I was looking to make money off of this, which, like I said, right now it's a money pit for me, and that's fine with me. But I think the money is eventually in sponsorships on the broadcast, and you can make money off of YouTube, off views and stuff like that, advertising on YouTube.
So out here in Southern California, roughly and we usually do it in January. I think we might even do it a little bit earlier right now. We do a pre-Vegas tournament, which so far we're able to get at least 24 teams. Our courts here in Huntington Beach are 4 pro surface courts. And I was just throw it out there. I mean, we can make it larger because we have to turn a lot of people away. We could do it sometime so it's not so close to Vegas, but we could probably do it a little bit further, like maybe between the holidays. And I mean, it's Southern California. I mean,
I would love to come to Southern California in the winter. Yeah.
I mean, it's like I've always said, the easiest job in Southern California is being the weatherman because all it is today it's going to be 70 and tomorrow it's going to be a lot the same. So we could talk about that more at another time.
Sure.
Because really the focus of what really want to talk to you guys about is the rankings.
Right.
But is there a website that anybody can go to take a look at the broadcasting thing?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube, the actual broadcast. YouTube channel is called Bocce Broadcast Network, or
Okay.
you can go to bocceBroadcast.network is the website, and there's more information on there, including contact info and stuff. So
Okay, and
so yeah,
what I'll do is when I upload this, I'll put down the links to that if you don't mind.
yeah, no, of
So,
course.
so
Thank
people,
you.
yeah, so people could go. I mean, we could do a whole hour just on that alone because the technology kind of interests me because I seen what you did in Las Vegas and it was pretty impressive. I was pretty
Well,
impressed. I was pretty upset that we didn't get to play on that court.
I
that's
got
nice.
kicked off of it.
Yeah, we
Remember
tried
that,
to get.
Michael?
Yeah, I remember that very well. We tried to get ABC versus Bocce Bros on that court, and we had an ornery player who insisted that his game had already been called 30 seconds earlier.
I think our game would have got more views. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we always say. We always say, especially in this day and age, when everything's being videoed, when you're playing in the big games or it's a competitive game against 2 rival teams, you're pretty much putting on a show for people.
Yeah.
You got to make it exciting. It's not it's not your grandfather's bocce anymore. I mean,
Well, it's not.
No, it's changing a lot. Even in Vegas, in the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen a very different energy in that room.
Yes, it was. I tell you what. So I went to Reno one time, and that's more kind of old school bocce.
Mhm.
Then I went to Vegas, and I saw it was half and half. Then we went to Dallas. Dallas was like the lid came off, and it was
Mhm.
what bocce should be. It was intimate. It was fun. It was exciting. There was a lot of screaming. There was a lot of hollering. There was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of fun. And then you get to you get out to Vegas, and it's switched. It's become a larger version of Dallas, and I was so excited to see so many younger players, so many more animated players. I, I I
Mhm.
I thought it was great. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal for the game. So, whatever we could do as a community to open this up to to new players, I'm all for it. I'm
Well,
all for it.
it's a credit to people like Alex and Andy with the ABC,
Oh yeah.
who they brought out what 30 players this year.
Oh yeah. And
But
we
these
Yeah.
guys are getting thousands of younger people involved in the game.
Oh yeah, we talk about that all the time. We're like, they come out with, I mean, they come out with a crew. You guys come with like an entourage, and each one is playing in the tournament. Well, like, I wish we could do that, but just we don't have what you guys have in the Chicago area of places where people could congregate and go and have a good time, have a few drinks, have a few laughs. Everything out here is in the park. You know, you can't drink in the park. You know, so we gotta, you know, I don't want to say we have to reinvent the wheel, but we have to do something different. So, you know, hats off to you guys in Chicago. I read your newsletters religiously, and if I lived closer, that's all I could say. If I lived closer, so and now you guys kind of segue into this. Now you two have come up with an idea to even kind of push it further to push it further in regards to a ranking system to kind of make a large community a little bit smaller. Alex, how did you even kind of decide or even want to start to do something like? Because it seems like it's an undertaking.
Well, I think that it's something that probably a lot of people have considered when you look at other sports in the vein of bocce ball, whether it's uh, curling in Canada or cornhole or tennis or lacrosse. Even everyone has ranking systems, and everyone wants to see their name in lights, right? You want to go on the website and see where you stack up against your peers, and for whatever reason, bocce hasn't had that opportunity yet. So American Bocce Company's sole objective over the last almost decade has been to create more opportunities for the sport, and we do a scaled down version of this ranking system in Chicago and have for our local tournaments for the last 3 or 4 years. But actually, the ranking system as it is now and the UBA itself is Michael's concept, and he's not the first person to come to me with this kind of concept, but he um, was the first person to evoke the confidence that made me want to work with that person. I think that Michael is super smart and motivated and has the time and helps with some bandwidth issues and has sort of a slightly different personality than mine, where I'm like all over the place and very broad and overly ambitious. And Michael seems like the kind of guy that will take one thing and just see it through to the end, and has that sort of hyper focused approach. So I saw him and his concept as a great complement to what we're doing.
I'm blushing, Alex.
So let's kind of start with what a lot of people are asking. How are you going to start ranking players throughout the nation, considering that it's kind of a a disjointed community we have right now? You have Southern California that's kind of out on an island somewhere. You have Northern California who has a large community, back east, Chicago. How does everything kind of get all united?
You want to take that,
Michael, why don't you
Alex?
go ahead and take that? No, you go ahead. It's your baby. So, and it's. I'll preface it by saying it's a lot easier than you think, Mark.
Okay, that's good.
It's not entirely disjointed, right? We all come together, especially at these big events like in Vegas or Dallas or the ABC Open. And that's one big I don't know what the right word is, but one really good thing that's come out of especially the Vegas tournament, at least for us, was forming all these relationships with people like yourself and Alex and Andy from Chicago, and forming these relationships around the country so that we have this network where that gives us the opportunity to do something like this. And what was your question?
How
Oh,
how are you?
how do you get? How does the tournament register? Yeah, how do they
Yeah,
get involved?
how do you get ranks? Like so like
How do you get
Notice
ranked?
from Vegas, you
How do
know,
players get ranked?
yeah, how do
How
you
does
get
the
ranked?
ranking start?
How
That's
does
what
it
you
work?
said.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's already, we have, I think 330, 340, something like that, players that are ranked right now. The rankings are very much unofficial, because in order to have any, so the short answer to your question, I know I tend to answer questions in a way that's a lot more than is necessary. But the short answer is, you play to get ranked as a player, you play an event in an event that is UBA eligible.
Okay.
And for an event to be UBA eligible, it's very simple. We've made it as simple as possible because we want as many people as possible to participate. So to register your tournament for UBA rankings, you go on the UBA website, Unified Bocce Association.com. And on the home page, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a form you can fill out to register a tournament. And it's pretty simple stuff. There's no fee or nothing. We're not charging a membership, anything like that. And you submit your event. The event goes on the calendar. In the future, we're going to have a requirement for, you got to submit a certain amount of time in advance so that it gives people the opportunity to know that this is like a UBA eligible event. And that way it's not like, I don't know, it's more fair that way.
Oh, yeah, most definitely,
Yeah,
especially if you want people to come from other parts of the country to play in these events. You kind of
exactly.
you got to give them a little bit more time than than a day.
And that's one
And
idea. Go ahead,
I was
Alex.
just going to say, just to piggyback on that, you mentioned that it's very much unofficial. I think that what makes these rankings more official is just more data.
Yeah,
So the more tournaments that we get and the more regions that are represented, the more of an accurate representation of the best players in the country we'll have. So right now, if you go on a hot streak at one tournament and win it all, and then retire, you might be considered the best player in the country according to the UBA. But that's going to change very quickly because we're already seeing a lot of tournaments be registered. I think that between the Molisani Open tournament in June, the ABC Open in September, the Dallas tournament, which is the Lone Star Open, Vegas, we're getting 70-80% of the big tournaments in this country already. So we'd like to fill that out with just making sure we're not missing or not at least speaking to audiences in different areas. So if that's Southern California, Northern California, that's probably the hardest for us to reach because like St. Louis, Kansas City, by way of Chicago, by way of Ohio, by way of New York, we all kind of touch each other in a way, and we're all close enough that
and we're going to
everything
each
that
other's tournaments and stuff. We see each
right,
other.
right, but then there's this vast sea of nothingness between Kansas City and California, where there really isn't a ton of tournaments that we know about. So we need to make sure that we continue to amplify this concept so that we can reach California and then and anywhere else that thinks that their tournament should be UBA eligible.
Now, when the tournaments are put into a UBA eligible tournament, does it have to be 4-on-4? Does it has to be 3-on-3? Does it has to be doubles, singles? Is there an actual classification, or it could be any which way as long as it's an open tournament?
Yeah. So we're not doing PRV events right now. And all this information is available on the website too. Under the if you go to the rankings page, under the rankings is the ranking guidelines, and that includes the eligibility requirements for events. I should know it off the top of my head, and I'm sure I could think of it if I sat here for long enough. But yeah, there goes a motorcycle. The requirements are very easy to meet. It's more than 12 teams It can be singles, doubles, whatever.
Okay.
You just need more than 12 teams. It is open rules, which doesn't mean strictly USBF open rules, but it basically just means not PRB.
Right.
Let's see what else. That's pretty much it. And then, like I said, in the future, there's going to be requirements for it has to be posted on the site. Ideally, we'd like to say that it has to be posted on the site before registration is open,
Okay.
because that kind of, to me, that's what makes sense, to make it accessible for everybody.
It makes a ton of sense because there'll be tournaments that are UBA certified that you might get more players and more teams to come to because of
Right.
that, instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Eventually, that's kind of the idea. And then there's a lot of things that we can do with the rankings. Kind of, so the ranking system was developed. I developed it with a lot of help from my father. We went through probably 4 or 5 different iterations. Is based off of the PGA system, because golf kind of works in a similar way, where there isn't really like a professional golf league, as far as I know, but that it operates on a tournament system. So we kind of took that and adapted it to Butch, and yeah, so similar to what they do in golf. Eventually, we'd like to have events where to qualify for the event, or like Alex said, once we can do team rankings and stuff, to qualify for an event, it's the top whatever teams, the top however many ranked teams, and then that's another way to promote this stuff. And
so let me ask you this question: this golf, are you going to have majors? Like, all right, in order for you to really kind of make your way up the ladder, you have to play in, the Masters, the Open, stuff like that, to make it more enticing for people to come to play it, as opposed to, coming to, Huntington Beach, California, and playing in a, 12-man tournament,
Right. Well, it's kind of organically built into the system, in that the more teams there are at a tournament, the more points are available.
Okay.
It's the way it works is it's for first place, you get 1 point per team. Essentially, if there's between 12 and 16 teams, first place is 16 points.
Okay.
So if 12-team tournament, first place is 16 points. But like in Vegas, 80 teams, first place got 80 points.
Okay.
So it does then, yeah, like you said, then these bigger tournaments they become majors.
Okay. So,
And once there's more of an established system, it would be cool to have like official
which would be
majors.
It would be kind of neat.
Which I know is something Alex is really in favor of and has put some thought into.
Okay, so I looked at the list of what we have that has come out from pretty much after the Las Vegas tournament, and I noticed, like, my team, there was 3 of us, and we're all ranked 19th.
Right.
Is that because this is where we finished as a team for now, as opposed to later on down the road? That's why each of us are tied for 19th.
Right. You all got, if you're on a team in a tournament, you get points based on where you place. So your whole team's going to place in the same spots. So you're going to get that many points. And then I suppose if you were to play with the same people in every tournament, then you're going to all be, whatever the word is, together in the rankings. You're going to be.
Okay, I also noticed on your guys' website that there is an actual score sheet that you guys might be using for tallying up, like, points. I was having a hard time figuring out how that was going to work.
Yeah, that's That's another thing that's like, that's the first evolution of the scorecards, is what you're talking about. It's kind of like the idea was like to build a scorecard for bocce the same way that there's like scorecards for baseball,
Okay.
in other sports, where every every ball that's thrown, you mark something on the scorecard, and then at the end you can add everything up, and it gives you some sort of input, whether or data, or whether it's really applicable or not. Right now, there are a lot of different things that I'd like to be able to keep track of. And once you get into like the nuances and stuff, it gets kind of complicated. So the scorecards are very basic, and they give you the information that they give you. And it might not be, all the information. It's definitely not all the information that you would like to have from each ball that's thrown and everything, but it's something. It's something to start with, and that's something that can be incorporated like into a broadcast,
Oh,
where you can keep
Right, but
track of
those
this.
won't be used. Those won't be used in the player rankings, Mark. The player ranking is just where you rank as a team. The score sheet is fodder for the broadcast, and maybe down the line something that can
okay.
differentiate.
Okay, so I was
Yeah,
a little confused. I thought that, the referee would be holding that and marking down
it's
as the game.
it's a lot. Yeah, we've scored some games, and actually, what's kind of fun is to score a game retroactively. Michael, I don't know if you've done that,
Yeah, off
but
the
with the Bocce
broadcast. Yeah.
Broadcast Network, you've got that footage, so you can go back and Mark, you might say, well, I was good, but Alex, you sucked. And I don't know. Let's score it. So we've scored games. When we went to nationals last year and Methuen, we scored the PRV games afterwards and watched the live streams on them, which was kind of a fun process to kind of see how we did versus how we think we did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but those are, like Alex said, to be clear, the scorecards and the rankings are separate things. There's a lot of things that we'd like, a lot of utility and resources that we'd like to be able to provide uh, as the UBA, and that's kind of another. There'll be a lot of other things that we'd like to do that are separate from the rankings. The rankings was essentially our introduction. It was our idea of a way to introduce the UBA to the community, rather than saying, if you just tell people we formed this thing called the Unified Bocce Association, it's like, okay, well, who cares, right?
Yeah,
So
and we're providing something like I think what people want to see is added value. So this is just saying like, hey, this isn't membership requirement. This isn't a pay to play model. This isn't anything like that. This is just us trying to create something that adds value to the bocce players' experience, to sort of build trust with the community and see how the community reacts to it, and hopefully give us momentum to build more tools and resources for the sport.
I I think it's I think it's a great idea. Um, it gives you more incentive to want to go to more different tournaments. Gives you incentive to want to travel and go see the other clubs, because you're only as good as your last bocce game. You could be the big fish in the little pond. Then you move out and go someplace else, and you're not all that great. Or you might realize, wow, I can really kind of put up with other teams. But the ranking system, I think, is something that I applaud you of doing, because it really is. I mean, to me, it seems like it's an undertaking, but it seems like something that you guys really are passionate about. And you know, one question now that just popped in my head. So, when you go to the tournaments, is there a minimum amount of tournaments that a player has to go to in order to get officially ranked when everything starts going?
yes, so yeah, good question. Yes, that is one of the requirements for players. these requirements are all, everything we've made it as transparent as possible. All this stuff is on the website. You can look at it all for yourself, see how everything works. But yeah, the idea now, and we may adapt it. I'm sure there'll be some things that we tweak over time as we see how, once we get enough data coming in, as we see how these things kind of pan out. But for now, the idea is similar to golf. Or you have to have a certain number of events that you've participated in over the last 24 months. So right now we have, the idea is to have that set at 12 events over 24 months. So, 6 a year, which seems, we've put a lot of thought into it. It seems reasonable, and it seems like a good amount, because you have to have enough events where you can't just like win one big event and then not do anything else, or do, even do really well in a big event, come in second or whatever, and then not do anything else and just coast on that.
Right. Okay. That's completely normal.
Yeah.
You just can't just stop and go, all right, I'm done. I'm done.
And it offsets, it gives more of a reason to participate, for smaller tournaments to participate in the UBA rankings, and for players to participate in smaller tournaments, even though they might see, well, if I win this tournament, I only get 16 points or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, but you have to have so many events or else you're going to get taken out of the rankings once they become official.
Right. So let's say an event is UBA sanctioned, and I'm just going to use Huntington Beach. We have our pre-Vegas, and it's a UBA sanctioned event. Is it incumbent on the club or the tournament director to send you guys all of the information regarding the breakdown of the finals?
We need rosters and final rankings,
Okay.
which isn't typically the tournament organizers should have all of that.
Of course.
The difference might be, whereas if a tournament is sort of standalone, they might do the payouts and then walk away and then forget who came in 5th or 8th or 15th. The ask here is that they document that and then ship it over to us. But also, because this is a new undertaking and we're willing to do a lot of the legwork to help build this and build the data attached to it, we're working alongside clubs and organizers to make it an easy process on them. So, for instance, the St. Louis tournament, Michael, that I registered recently, as simple as saw the tournament, reached out to Dan Drago from the Italian American Club in St. Louis and just said, may I register this to the UBA? 5 seconds later, of course. Right. So I registered it based on the information on his behalf, and then just share to him what I need at the end of the tournament.
Okay. So another question.
But also, sorry, I just
go ahead.
want to clarify one thing. We don't need, we're trying to make it, as simple as possible. No reason for anybody to say no. And no, we're trying to make it as little extra work for anybody. Really, all we need is the rosters, and you could just take a picture of the final bracket. You don't even have to do the work of figuring out, first through whatever.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah.
We can do that. You just take a picture of the final completed bracket.
So
and we sit down and assign the points and everything.
Okay, so on May 13th of this year, the Huntington Bocce Club, we host a tournament for the Southern California Bocce Association. We could not make that a UBA event due to the fact that you have to be part of the Southern California Bocce Association to plan it.
Right.
Okay.
It has to be open to the public, yeah.
Okay, but if we have any open tournaments that we are planning to do, we could just put it onto your
Send them our way.
calendar.
Absolutely, yeah. Just go, like I said, you can send us an email or or you can just go on the website and fill out the form, and it has spaces for all the information that we need.
I think that's pretty easy. I think we've answered most of the questions that I had. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you might want to kind of throw out there?
Well, I wanted to mention, funny enough, so I'm in Chicago, Michael's in New York, but we're actually um, teaming up next weekend. I'm headed up to the Waterside Club in Phoenix, New York, and myself and Digital Dave, who we referenced before, are going to run the broadcast, the BBN for Michael, because he's going to be playing in the tournament.
Okay.
So it's and the reason I bring that up is because I think that it sort of proves how these concepts can help make this big, seemingly disconnected bocce world smaller and feel more connected. And the places like the Waterside Club that have embraced the efforts that people like Michael and like Andy and myself and the Bocce Bros in Ohio and a lot of people who have recently and now yourself, Mark, who have recently taken it upon themselves to say, you know what, I want to do my part to help push or pioneer this sport into more opportunities, like clubs that support that. And I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's something that I'd like to see more of. So a lot of people know about us, and I guess I'll use this platform now to say, like, reach out, have a conversation with myself, with Michael, see how we can help you. And I think by us helping you, it's helping the sport.
Yeah, no, well said. So if they need to get a hold of either of you, both of you look at the UBA website all the time to get the contacts, or is there a way to contact you guys, just separately? And what I'm talking about is, I know I could contact you. I know how to but let's say Northern California, they're listening. They go, hey, how do I get a hold of these people? Just go to the website.
Send us the contact info is all on the website. You can send us an email at unifiedbocce@gmail.com.
Okay.
Also, I would say I would suggest for people to go on the website, and at the bottom of the website, there's a spot to put your email in. And if you sign up for that, then we regularly send out, we've started sending out the rankings updates and information like that. I try to do it once a week, where we send out the results from this week's tournaments, next week's upcoming tournaments. If anybody has entered if there's any changes in the top 15 rankings and stuff like that. And along with that, tournament organizers, if you want to send us more information after your tournament, like you want to tell us, just a short description of like what, the champion's path to the finals or whatever happened, any kind of extra information.
Pictures are great too.
Okay.
Yeah, pictures, everything like that. We love to include just anything to make it more not entertaining, but entertaining, but also just more interesting to have these regular updates on the tournament circuit, like you would with other sports.
Right, because you want to keep everybody's attention. You want to get people excited for the next tournament. You want to get people looking forward to, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to Chicago, then I'm going to go to New York, and then I'm going to go here. It makes it just so much more fun for the people coming, and it also, the community becomes a lot smaller, because when you get to these places, you get to talk to people that you haven't seen in a few months, and it to me, it's kind of cool. To me, it's really kind of cool.
Oh, it's like my favorite thing in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but also, sorry to interrupt. It's also to show people that this is an active thing, where it's not like, it's not like, it looks like we lost Alex.
I think we lost Alex.
It's not like we have this idea, it's all talk, and then after a month or a couple months, then it's gone. And it's like, whatever happened to the UBA?
Right.
No, the idea is to, you know, to engage people.
Right. And that's that's how something grows. I mean, you look at it like you look at ESPN and cornhole's on every other day.
Yeah, don't get me started on cornhole.
So I mean, why not us? Why not us? That's what I say. Why can't
Exactly.
we be on ESPN? It's just that, especially with like you and Alex doing what you're doing, and all the other people that are adding their input. Eventually, you got to take the baby steps first, and go from there. I don't know what happened to Alex, but if there's anything else, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of stuff today in regards to what you guys are doing. Um,
Mhm.
I'd like to be able to speak to you a little bit further. We don't have to do it right now, but more so on the network thing to see how we could uh, get it up and running down here in Southern California. Um,
Absolutely.
help you guys out because once again, it's all about growing. Um,
I got a lot of family there in Southern California. I'd love
okay.
to any excuse to fly out.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I am going the minute we get off of the 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 Zoom meeting here. I'm going to be calling our president of our club, and I'm going to have a few things to talk to him about because he's always open to doing other things besides traveling to tournaments and also putting on our Southern California Bocce Association ones, like maybe in the midsummer, like in July or something, maybe having a fairly large tournament, kind of like you guys do back east, and we could put
Sure.
on the
What
UVA thing and go from there.
yeah, I would suggest you can look at the events on our website, but then also the Bocce Bros have a good schedule of tournaments. And you can see kind of I'm not sure if they have the size of the tournaments really on there. Uh July, I know July like 13th through 16th is the World Series in Rome, which is over 100 teams usually. So that's a big event. But yeah, if you can pick a weekend where there's, obviously you'd want to pick a weekend where there's as few conflicts as possible. But
Yeah, of course. And I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that because I would like to go back to the World Series back there in Rome. That would be interesting.
I'll be there. BBN will be there.
Okay, definitely. We'll take our guys out here. Will take a look at it and see because a lot of them always want to go back to New York and play.
It's a lot of fun. The World Series is something else. Paul Kalecki, the president of Telcolana there, he's told me they had 5,000 spectators last year.
Wow, holy
It's crazy. It's in an environment like no other. Kind of similar. Wycliffe is also similar energy, but yeah, a lot of fun.
okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go because it looks like I don't know what happened to Alex, but uh, and I'll email you to tell you when this is all going to be put onto the onto YouTube and the other podcast platforms. So if there's anything else, I really do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your week to come on and talk about this and kind of educate everybody that's listening, including myself, on what you guys are doing.
Well, we appreciate you reaching out and having us on your show,
Yeah,
and we're glad to see that you've taken the initiative to do something like this. I
yeah,
think it's awesome.
yeah. We'll definitely keep in contact. You have a good rest of your weekend, and we're gonna be talking soon.
One thing I do one more plug I'll add.
Sure. No, please
When this
walk
comes
away.
out, said if this comes out next week, probably April 21st and 22nd, we're having the first UBA. This is another thing that we didn't touch on, but the first
Well,
our first
let's touch on that right now. Let's touch
sure
on
we're
that.
having
Yeah,
our
let's talk.
first state championship, New York State Championship, which is it's invitational, so it's not, and it's only for clubs in New York, of course.
Mhm.
So it's not eligible for the rankings. But Dino Franceschi and Gabe Quattrocchi of the Waterside Club in Phoenix, New York, have taken it upon themselves to, in cooperation with the Special Olympics, to set up this event and invite they invited dozens of clubs, active bocce clubs from around New York. And they got 12 to enter, which was the goal. And we're having the first official New York State Bocce Club Championship. So one of these clubs is going to walk away with a banner and a trophy that they'll get to hang on to until next year. They gotta bring it back, and then But that's our first UBA State Championship, and that'll be broadcasted on the Bocce Broadcast Network for anybody who wants to watch.
Perfect. That was my question that I was going to ask. Is it going to be broadcast? The other thing, just geographically, where exactly is Phoenix, New York?
Phoenix is outside of Syracuse, so central New York.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful club. Two
Okay.
synthetic Coleone courts.
Okay.
They got a cigar lounge there too. It's right on the canal. They put together fantastic events. They only have 2 courts for now. They're thinking about expanding. So they have to somewhat limit the size of their tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But especially now as everything gets more popular, I know they're getting a lot more members.
Okay.
But yeah, Waterside Club, Phoenix, New York.
Waterside Club. Okay, I'm kind of writing that down.
And they've kind of taken it. Alex touched on this a little bit earlier. They've kind of taken it upon themselves to be a sort of incubator for these ideas that we have, like the broadcasting and the computer vision stuff. Mm-hmm. With Digital Dave, which we will be incorporating into the broadcast. So this will be, if you watch this broadcast on the 21st and 22nd, this will be the most. I mean, the BBN is already the most high-tech bocce broadcast anywhere, just by the fact that we have like replay and stuff. But we're taking it a step further. Like I said, we're trying to improve with every broadcast. But this one, we got Digital Dave coming out with his computer vision stuff, and that's going to give us a lot of info that we can track live on the screen. It's basically a camera up above the court that looks at the balls and gathers all this information that we'll be incorporating into the broadcast. So,
and anybody can get on it, watch it on what you on the website.
Yeah, on YouTube, Bocce Broadcast Network. Subscribe, please, and you'll see when we post stuff, and you'll see when we go live. Sometimes I get people ask me if it costs money or how much it costs to subscribe. It's free. It's YouTube. So
right, cool. I do appreciate. Good luck in you're playing, right?
We'll be representing the Troy Italian Community Center.
Okay. Well, good luck this weekend, and we'll talk after the tournament, and we'll kind of get a few other things kind of squared away, and let's keep moving forward.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.